The things that we have in our heart that we think are impossible are often just milestones waiting to get accomplished if you can push those limits. Listen, everything was impossible until someone did it, so you can either hang around people that tell you it can be done or hang around people that inspire possibilities. Welcome to the Path to Unlimited, weekly interviews with entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, those that inspire possibilities. And I'm your host, Julian Marion. Well, welcome to the Path to Unlimited. This is Julian, and today I have Corinna, Essa. Corinna, welcome to the Path to Unlimited.
Thanks for having me.
We're excited. Well, Corinna is actually in Australia, so she is far from Texas. Also, I'm going to give you a quick little intro on who Corinna is. So she's a social media marketing strategist and educator. She's known internationally as the go-to person when it comes to social media marketing. She owns a social media marketing company, helping businesses around the world just leverage the power of social media without doing any of the legwork. That just sounds awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Corinna, again, welcome. Is there anything else that you would like to share, with our listeners?
Well, I've got a few great tips for them lined up, and I hope that my story will inspire them to do greater things.
Awesome. So I know you have this business, right? And we know as entrepreneurs, small business owners, that every day is a different day. Some days are good, some days are bad, some days are both. So do you have kind of either a mantra or a motivational quote, something that kind of just refocuses you, in the morning or whenever it gets tough?
Absolutely. I have one that has been with me for quite a few years. In fact, when I first started, which is, if she can do it, so can I. And it started first when I attended an internet marketing seminar. And at the time, I was unemployed, really broke, no self-confidence whatsoever. I thought I was, a loser and a waste of space at the time. I had my self-confidence quite battered, if you want. and and I remember seeing someone on stage sharing a great story of theirs. It was a lady, a very nice lady, and she had achieved great things in her internet business. And I remember looking at her and thinking that we were quite similar as people. And I thought to myself, well, if she did it, so can I. And then as years went by, I realized that I met even greater women. And when I started becoming friends with them or spending time with them, I realized that again we had a lot of similarities, and that mantra, if she can do it, so can I, has stayed with me ever since.
I love it. I remember Steve Jobs when he shares that, whenever you realize that everything around you was created by people just like you, right? It, to me, is just like, you're right. I mean, the TV, the lights, the computers was created by someone just like me, not any smarter. That means that I can create something that other people are going to use as well. So I think it kind of goes with what you said.
Yes, how interesting. I didn't know he said that. He's a very smart guy.
Yeah, he's been very, I was actually watching the documentary on his life where he really, when they go back and just his story, and he was really, interested in the meaning of life and design and, the experience that people have more than just business, or most people know him for for business, so love it. All right, so clarity on a compelling future. What is your why? What gets you up in the morning?
I have this vision where I'm going to create a multi-million dollar company, so that I've always wanted to help orphans. It's something that I told my husband before we got married. I told him when we decided to get married, I have to warn you, I really want to make a difference when it comes to orphans. And and he was great. And I wasn't going to settle with anyone who wouldn't be on the same wavelength as me, because I could see that quite easily, because I was so passionate about that topic, that we could grow apart. So I was lucky enough to have a very supportive husband, and for me, that's really my bigger vision, to create a business that is so automated and so successful that I can just focus on making a difference in the world, and I can, fork out $1 million a year in helping organizations, or basically helping orphans. There's so many of them, and it keeps on growing, and it's becoming harder and harder to adopt them. So of course, um, the amount of children who will be growing up without a family, which is basically the basic human need, is growing exponentially. So this is really my bigger why.
That is really cool. Especially I know nowadays with in Asia, there's a lot of girls that need to be adopted because of just like the way the law is over there.
Absolutely, and so really my aim is to have to make a difference somehow. I haven't sorted out the finer details, but at least make adoption not a taboo subject, and and become an example. So my husband and I are going to adopt, and hopefully that will serve as an example for our community, that there's nothing taboo about it. It's actually a very important humanitarian cause.
So why do you think that adoption is so expensive?
Adoption is so expensive. I think that it's a way to pre-qualify people. I think uh, to make sure that the people who adopt have the right reasons. Again, I don't think it's the best way to do it, but I think that's what's been happening.
All right. So are you early bird, night owl, or early owl? I got to understand when you go in between the two.
I'm an early bird. I'm an early bird. I'm the most productive between 7 a.m. and 10 a.m. So make sure I wake up quite early so I get the most important things, or at least uh, not the most important things, but the most hard to produce things out of the way early in the morning.
Hmm. That is good. I had one of our guests, a mentor of mine, Misty Lone. I interviewed her a couple weeks ago, and she was explaining how depending on the work that she has to do, she would do it some in the morning and some at night. When her brain is just kind of like a different zone. So she really would split her work based on that. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, that's right. And I split my day in two as well. I exercise in the middle of the day, so then after I exercise, I feel so energized that it's like starting the whole day again. So yeah, everyone has their productive tips, and I think that exercise right in the middle of the day is what works for me.
All right, a good transition. So, what is your morning routine?
My morning routine is, I think it's because it's early in the year and I still have my New Year's my resolutions, but it's definitely start the day with green juice in the morning. I think that if I do that, then I feel less guilty if I have a chocolate or something like that.
Awesome. All right, so limitations, right? Personal limitations. What is your view on on just limitations in business or in life?
Well, that no one should impose them onto you, and it happens way too many times. It starts first at school, with your immediate environment. So maybe a bit of criticism by people that matter the most to you. For example, your parents. So that I've seen happen a lot, and I've experienced that as well. It can be really meaningless, but it can have a huge impact on how you perceive yourself, and therefore how the results you produce. So also at school, some teachers or leaders there at school um, are not very good at basically leading. So they'll make comments or compare you to other people, and it starts there. It starts at home and at school. And so, as you can see, I'm not a big fan of the educational system.
This is very rare that you have entrepreneurs being huge fan of the educational system, and the way kids are taught. Because at the end of the day, whenever you go into the corporate world, in school you're not really 100% rewarded on creativity. You're rewarded on are you going to do what other people are doing? If you step out of line, you will be sanctioned, right? But in the real world, you rewarded on creativity. Can you think outside the box? We don't want the same thing as everybody else.
Absolutely. School definitely doesn't breed business owners and entrepreneurs for two reasons, I find. First of all, they teach you not to copy on each other, right? So it's big sin at school if you copy on someone who's better than you and you copy them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas it's a rule here in businesses, you need to copy success because success leaves clues. So already that's faulty. And then the second one is always threatening in order to get what you want. So for example, the teacher will say, do your homework or else you'll be expelled. I'm just making it up, right? But
Mm-hmm.
or else you'll be expelled, right? And so I noticed that my management style, when I manage staff, luckily now I have a manager, I don't have to do all that, but initially my management style was like this. Well, do this because I said so, do this because that's what we're paying you for. And I had that sort of aggressive management type
Mm-hmm.
style, if you want, and that wouldn't bring me any results. But that's the only way I this is the only example of leadership I had, which I soon realized that it was from school. So these are two things that you're taught at school for 12 years is definitely not something that helps later on if you have a business.
All right, Karina. So let's go into a time in your life where you limited yourself. You're like, ah, no, this is Karina. This is me. Like, I did this. Nobody else did this. Like, this is my fault, and I should have done this. Take us there. Give us the story and how and what you did to kind of get out of it.
Well, it was at first when I started the company and sales were rolling in to the point where it was obvious it wasn't going to be a one man show. I couldn't carry the so many sales just on my own, and my fear of fear of that not lasting, the fear that this is just temporary,
Mm-hmm.
the sales will dry up. That constant fear that that's not going to last kind of thing stopped me from scaling the business, stopped me from hiring people in time. So I was telling people, I was turning customers away just because I was scared of growing the company and employing staff. So that was definitely a big limitation and it's cost me a lot.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think the imposter syndrome for most entrepreneur, right? Which is like why first of all like why me what will people come to me to do this, and this is too good to be true. You hear that a lot, especially when you start.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's shift gears. In terms of like other people, have you ever had a time where somebody tried to limit you or did succeed in limit you?
Many times, many times. It first started. I used to work as an assistant television producer, so it was my dream job at the time. Since I was 15 years old, my dream was to become a television producer. And I think it's just because I liked watching TV, but that's another story. So I had that dream, had that vision for myself that I would be this really great television producer. So I went and studied TV production in London. So the biggest waste of my time, but let's not talk about that. So I did that, and I was told by industry experts that in order to get a foot in the door, you have to work for free. So I went ahead and worked for free for 2 years, and then I was lucky enough to get a few contracts in the television industry. So finally, I was getting paid for working 16 hours a day, and so when I was 25 years old, it was right in the middle of the financial crisis. And one of the biggest ones, really. So it was, I think, back in 2008 or 2009, and my boss asked me to come to his office, and I could sense that there was something wrong. I could already they were downsizing the company, and I thought, it might be my turn now to go as well. So he asked me to go to his office, and he made me redundant. And the world fell out of my feet that day, and I. I remember thinking, what am I going to do with myself? Everyone's downsizing. I'm never going to have a job again, at least not for the next few years. What am I going to do? And I remember thinking to myself, "Oh, maybe I'll just go back to waitressing or something like that." And and I think that this self-doubt came from the fact that it was the fifth time I was being made redundant. So it was the fifth company that was making me redundant, and I
Hmm.
think that it did something to my confidence. So every time I would be, I say redundant because I don't like the word fired. Every time, it was another hit for my self confidence, and the fifth time I think was the last one where I thought, well, I'm a good for nothing. If I was really good at adding value to this company, they would have kept me regardless of the market situation. And so that was the last time I ever thought like that in such a limiting way. Because after that, um, very shortly after, I built my company, which is now valued at a few $1 million. So yeah,
Not too bad.
not too bad.
So what do you think is, like, what do you think, what is the one thing that you believe, like, you think of that other people don't think of, right? Like, what is that one thing that you think, like, this is, like, I think about this and most people don't think like that?
It's work ethics. I have very strong work ethics, and I noticed that not a lot of people have it. I'll give you just a very basic
Okay.
example. The we have a sales team, and I have a sales manager, and every month we recruit people for the sales team, and so we organize a recruitment day, which is a day where candidates come and we interview them and we assess them. And sometimes candidates just don't show up at the interview and don't pick up their phone or don't call afterwards to apologize or anything for not showing up and basically wasting our time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just made me realize that um, there are only a few people around that have such strong work ethics, that work ethics is not to be taken for granted. Only a few people have it, and I've experienced that. That's just an example with the sales team during recruitment days, but it happens all the time. I see flaws in the way people work or don't work. Not enough strong work ethics, and a lot of people don't honor their word. So for them, their word doesn't mean anything. So they'll say, "I'll be there at 9 a.m. for the scheduled interview," and then they're not. So people not taking their own word not seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So I think these are the two things that set me apart and set a few people apart. The people who honor their word and who have strong work ethics. And that's something that I do quite differently, because for me, work ethics and honoring your word is just the basic if you want to make something of yourself.
Yes, that, and I think, like you said, a lot of people don't, nowadays, don't always, stick with their word, right? I tell you this, I'm gonna do it, regardless on if it, if it is late or whatever. I said I was going to do it, I'm gonna go ahead and commit to it. All right, so
Yeah.
let's shift gear. I know your expertise is in social media, right? So let's go and shift gear and go into the mind of, let's say, a small business owner. Okay, what are the fears that most business owners, we're gonna think, like, small, medium sized business owners, have about social media? They know they need to be on it. They know there's so many out there. So, what do you think are some of the fears that stop small business owners from being on social media?
The main one that I see people sharing most of the time is the fact that as soon as they are on it, they're open to more criticism. So basically, allowing people to leave feedback on their Facebook page or criticizing them, or starting a conversation that is damaging to their reputation. So I think that that's the main fear they have, and it's stopping them from being on social media. It's stopping them from um, leveraging the power of social media, just from the fear of being open to criticism.
All right. So, what do you think is, the antidote, to that?
It's reputation management. So you can turn around. If you're smart, you'll turn around bad reviews um, into a positive PR campaign for yourself, or you'll turn it into into humor. If you're creative, you can turn things around, or you can turn a critic into a brand evangelist if you're creative enough. So also it's an invitation to show that actually you do value your customers, and their feedback means a lot to you, so you can respond quickly to them, apologize, and find a solution uh, for them. So for me, feedback is always an opportunity for me to improve and the company to improve. And when someone tells me gives me feedback, I'm like, yeah, tell me more. It's valuable. It hurts sometimes. It can hurt, of course, because sometimes it's your pride that's been hurt. But it's also, if you're creative and smart and don't take it personally, you can really turn it around, show the rest of the world that you care about your customers, that you want to fix problems, you want to improve, that their views are welcome. And that's how, when I talk to business owners who are a bit reluctant to be on social media, I tell them stories about how there was a company, I forgot the name, that received a bad review on Facebook, and because it was answered with humor, the whole thing went viral. So it's things like that, and can happen all the time.
Okay. So, being a small business owner myself, right? I know that social media is important, right? I know that this is where a lot of that behind the scenes sometimes needs to happen, but there's so many out there, right? I know numerous business owners that are dread so much to get on social media, right? That probably is their their least favorite activity. They know they need to be on, so they're trying to be on, but that's their least favorite activity. So, what can a small business owner do, to kind of let, because obviously they don't have a lot. If you don't have a big team, you don't have a lot of time. You don't always want to delegate someone to do it right away because you're nervous that, hey, this is public, right? If you really say something that I don't want you to say, then this is going to damage our brand even more, right? So what is your
Mm.
advice, in terms of social media, for a small business owner?
Well, my advice would be to hire an agency like ours. So I don't want to be self-promoting myself, but just in a nutshell, what we do is we manage businesses' social media. So that way, they don't have to hire someone in-house, which can be really expensive, and they don't have to let let it be done by someone in-house who maybe doesn't have the skills or the education about social media. So I think social media agencies are the best solution. They have services and packages that can be adapted to your needs, and I think that's the smartest way, because you're not just paying for the service, you're paying for the skill and the education, and it's going to be done right. It's going to be done consistently. So I would tell them to do that. Too many times when I go to businesses, or the sales consultants go to businesses, and they pitch the service, the business owners say, "Oh, it's fine. Our receptionist, Angela, is doing it." And usually we say, "Well, that's why we're talking to you. Have you seen, have you seen, the quality of the work?" Because it has nothing to do with the person. I'm sure the person who's managing that social media has the best intention, but just the lack of skill, and the lack of knowledge about social media, that can cost the company. They think they're saving money by giving the work to someone in house already, but really it can cost them. It can cost them in terms of sales and in terms of reputation.
Okay, so let's change gear again, right? Let's go back to you a little bit. What was a time where like you were fearful but did it anyway? Like how did you do that? What was that time and how did you do it?
Yeah, well, it was when I had to make a decision about scaling the business. And I was scared because, of course, the more you scale, the more open you are to challenges. And so it was to make a $100,000 investment to grow the company, meaning bring more staff. And the- in order to scale a company, you have to have A players.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, when I was thinking, well, shall I remain small and just be happy and sleep at night, or shall or shall I scale the business and do whatever it takes to take it to where I really want it to go? And so I had these conflicting ideas and thoughts in my mind for quite a while, and then I came across one of Steve Jobs' old interviews that haven't been shared a lot. Not a lot of people have seen. I don't know where I found that interview, but it was an interview I think that was never broadcast or something like that. And I came across that interview, and he says at some point he talks about having A players where he only built a team of A players, and he said what's great about having A players is that they like hanging out with A players. And I know as basic as this may sound and as obvious as it may sound, it's sort of shifted something in my mind. I thought, this is a sign. I need to I need to hire an A player, and that A player is going to hire more A players. And that's exactly what I did. And since then we've been able to scale the business. And it was just validation I needed, that confirmation I needed that I got from watching that interview. And I wasn't even looking for validation or confirmation at the time. I just came across that interview just by chance. And that sentence he said, then I made the decision. That's it. I'm going to scale, and I'm going to scale by hiring an A player who then will be hanging out with more A players. And I haven't looked back since.
All right, so I have a couple questions for you on video streaming, right? Because we know this is kind of the I'm not gonna say 2016 is the age of the TV to some extent, right? The online TV, but you do see the huge shift now with Periscope, Blab, those kind of medium, and those do have a huge impact on small businesses, I believe, right? Those that can leverage those platforms the best, I think, gonna have a huge advantage. So, what is your take on that, and how can a small business kind of leverage those platforms?
Well, video is going to become bigger and bigger, and just because of the speed of the internet now, and because people prefer consuming information through video than any other media. So it's going to get bigger and bigger. So I would tell businesses spend more time and money creating video content than any other form of content, just because it's going to be bigger and that's what people like. So, for me in business, it's always give people what they like, and then you get rich like that. And it applies with video. People want video, give it to them. That's what they like.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they want. That's what they're after. And there's no excuse now, because it's never been cheaper to produce video. I mean, I produce videos, broadcast quality videos with my iPhone. So there's no excuse now that the production costs are next to nothing, and the platforms to broadcast that are free, most of them. So I would definitely tell them to do that. And again, going back to social media, Facebook absolutely loves video. They give priority to people who have video content. By give priority, I mean they're more likely to increase your reach on Facebook if you're posting video. There's a rumor that they want to become the next YouTube. So
Mm.
it's an opportunity now. It's a big opportunity. So having a YouTube channel, let's say 100 videos, definitely will set you apart from any other business. Creating regular good content rich videos is definitely the way to go, and it will only get bigger.
So I know there's most likely some people want to ask that question because there's constantly that back and forth. Is it better to upload videos directly to Facebook, or is it better to share your YouTube link?
It's Facebook prefers if you upload it directly onto Facebook, because you know YouTube belongs to Google. They're not a big fan. They're in competition, so they will prefer if you upload it to Facebook rather than put a YouTube link.
Okay.
But again, you can do both. It wouldn't make a big difference. It wouldn't make a huge difference. I do both. I upload them on Facebook and upload them on YouTube as well.
All right. So let's go into action plan, right? Because I know you most likely. I don't know how often you do it now, but most likely in the beginning you had to do a lot of explaining and giving action plans, to owners. So, what action plan would you give someone that is stuck in limiting themselves, or allowing others to limit them in their business, in getting online, with social media? Like, what kind of action plan would you give them?
For them to get onto social media, or in general to scale their
To
business.
scale their business with social media, because they know this is a cheap way, right? Like social media, I mean, it's free. So everybody should be on there.
Yeah,
There's no reason why not. But somehow they're still stuck. They don't know what the first step is, and they know that everything is moving faster and faster and faster. So there's no progress, there's no happiness.
yeah, absolutely. Well, the first thing we usually do for the businesses we help is we audit whatever they have online. And some businesses, believe it or not, they're not familiar with what's being said about them online, what's on there. Some people know they have a Facebook page but don't know the logins. I mean, what I've seen have
Yeah.
I've been blown away. So I would audit. I would first audit what's there and what needs improvement, what needs management, what needs to be removed, etc. So I would do a in-depth social media audit. I would see, well, is whatever is seen on social media a true reflection of who they are, how successful they are, how many customers they serve, how good their customer service is. So things like that, is everything aligned? Because sometimes you can have a huge business that's very successful that serves 10,000 customers a year, and then on Facebook, for example, they have 6 fans and 1 bad review.
Mm-hmm.
So I would first do an audit and see, well, is that a reflection of who they really are, and would make sure that whatever's on the social networks is a direct reflection of who they are, how big they are, how established they are, and I would make them look even bigger, because social media is also to make you look bigger and better as well. So I would take that opportunity to do that as well, and then I would have to ask the business owner, well, what is it that you want to achieve on social media? Because every business has different needs. For some of them, it's lead generation, because they generate a lot of leads from social media and they want to increase that. Some of them is they want to increase their audience to look bigger. Some of them, they want to use it for traffic, because let's say they have an e-commerce site and a lot of their revenue depends on the amount of traffic they get to their e-commerce site. So I would just ask, what is it that they want to achieve ideally, and then I would reverse engineer, where in order to do XYZ, what is it that we need to put in place? If they want to generate sales, for example, I would say, well, what kind of a sales funnel do we need to set up in order for that to happen? If they wanted to generate traffic, I would say, well, what kind of content do we need to produce in order to generate that traffic? So that's really in a nutshell what I would be doing.
Great. I was actually taking notes on some of the action steps. All right, so let's go into, as we wind down, let's go into some rapid fire. Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's get it. All right. So, what online resource, would you recommend to anyone getting into social media?
My blog, of course. It's updated once a week, so every week there's a tutorial, so it goes quite in depth. So there's a video tutorial and a blog post that goes in detail, and gives one social media tip for businesses. So definitely my blog. People can find my blog on socialmediaworldwide.com/blog. And there's going to be all the resources that you need in order to educate yourself about social media, and really leverage its power. There's also our YouTube channel, SMW Online, which, sorry, not SMW Online, Social Media Worldwide. Sorry, that's the name of the YouTube channel. All the tutorials are there as well, if people prefer just watching videos.
What book would you recommend on social media?
What book would I recommend? I wouldn't really recommend a social media book for many reasons. First of all, because um, it gets outdated quite fast, because social media changes really fast. I don't want to um, mention one and then people grab it and it's outdated, because things happen so fast. But in terms of marketing in general, I would say Changing the Channel. That's a great book. It's called Changing the Channel. And it's about leveraging all forms of media online, not just social media, but other forms that work hand in hand with social media. So it's called Changing the Channel.
Changing the Channel. Awesome. I've not heard of that book yet. All right. So, Corinna, so if you were unlimited, without limits, could not fail, right?
Yeah.
What would you do in the next 7 days?
In the next 7 days, I think that I would I would probably create one of the biggest charity events to raise awareness about the cause I'm the most passionate about, which is getting a home for every orphan in the world. So I would probably do that and do whatever it takes to get as many people on board, um, and aware, really, to raise people's awareness about that huge humanitarian crisis that we have, but that not a lot of people are talking about, because a lot of other crises have more appeal, more talked about in the media. So I would do that.
Bam, that's what I was expecting you to say. Awesome. Well, we are here towards the end of our time together. So give us one parting piece of guidance and the best way we can support you. And if someone wants to reach out, how can they do so?
Yes. So the before I get into how people can contact us, I would say that with social media, my last piece of advice is that it's very easy to get overwhelmed, and because of all the information that's coming to us, so many people talk about social media and try to educate other people about social media, and it can be quite overwhelming. And I think that the best education is doing it yourself. So yes, go and learn about it, but then execute, because that's the best way to learn and get results. So that's my last piece of advice, because I know that social media can become so overwhelming, especially if you check out my blog and you see all the strategies that are available. It tends to overwhelm people and then freeze them from doing anything. So that's my last piece of advice. And in terms of contacting me, Facebook, of course, it's facebook.com/SMW online. So SMW stands for Social Media Worldwide. So facebook.com/SMW online. My Twitter handle, SMW online, or on our website directly, socialmediaworldwide.com.
Awesome. Well, Corinna, thank you so much again for being our guide on this path to unlimited, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this episode with Corinna Essa, just an amazing woman. Make sure to go and check her out and support her business. And also make sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It really helps us spread this message of possibilities that whatever you can think of, you can accomplish. And also go to tptunlimited.com, subscribe to the newsletter so you can be notified of new episodes. And as a reward, you receive our book called 21 Days to Unlimited, how to accomplish your goals and unlock your unlimited potential in 21 days. Accept compliments from everyone, limitations from the one. Love you guys.